Okay, so property finders in particular are the first stage of the funnel. So there are several elements to a property finder responsibility. The number one is to fill the funnel. So a funnel is basically, in a marketing concept, you have a lot of leads coming into the funnel at the top. And then as you work down the funnel, you disqualify leads or they disqualify themselves, so that at the bottom of the funnel are people that actually do the deals. But the funnel has to be filled somehow. Somehow you have to get leads into this funnel. And that's the primary job of the property finder, is actually to fill that funnel with leads. And we'll get into more detail of how that filling of the funnel works. But the next step, the next responsibility of the property finder is to build the agent rapport. So these agents are very valuable to our business. If you get agent relationships, those agent relationships will bring you deal after deal after deal. So it's kind of like the story of the goose that laid the golden egg, right? So that agent is the goose. You have one potential golden egg that we're looking at for an online listing, but they have the potential of bringing you deal after deal after deal, golden egg after golden egg after golden egg. So you want to build a relationship and rapport with that agent because of their potential, not just for this deal, but for every other deal. And then number three, the property finder responsibility is the beginning of your journey in REI. This is just the first step. So as you learn the ABCs and you get good at it, then you can move on to the next step. And every level you grow to, you can make more money, you become more rounded in your skills, and it becomes more and more enjoyable as you move along. So those are the three things we'd like you as property finders to focus on as you continue down your journey. Moving on to the deal funnel, there's about 17 steps in all when it comes to MLS wholesaling. It's different for offline or off market versus on market, but in particular, MLS or on market, these are the steps that need to be taken care of to make a deal happen. The very first process here in the deal funnel are the offers. And that's where you as property finders come in, is to create that initial offer. So you'll go find the property. We use a tool called Privy. And I think most of you either already have it or have watched in the Elephant Challenge to see Pace and others use that tool. And that with that tool, you can track down and see how to actually locate a good potential deal. So find the property, review the listing. Secondly, you talk to the agent, you build that rapport, you gather information about that property. Number three, you analyze the deal. You run the after repair value, what's the cost of the repairs, and what sort of offer price can I put out for that property. And then fourth, you submit the first offer. So that first offer, we have to get the details into our CRM. That way it can be properly followed up on, because deals need following up. And then you email out the offer. Those are the 4 steps for the property finder themselves. After those 4 steps, then the acquisition manager comes into play. The acquisition manager will continue to build on that rapport that you started, and they'll also negotiate and close the contract. So your primary role in this conveyor belt of deals is to bring the first offers into the funnel, and then the acquisition managers pick up after that, and they negotiate and close those contracts. And then after the acquisition manager, we have the disposition manager, and we have transaction coordinators, and we have transaction funders or lenders. So the transaction lenders, also known as Gator lenders, they provide the EMD funds. That way we can get all the deals funded properly. The transaction coordinators, they make sure all the paperwork is going to the right people, signed correctly, all the paperwork is done right time, right place. And then the disposition managers, they take care of actually finding the buyers and getting, negotiating with the buyers as needed, getting the buyers out to the property to look at it. That's their step of the process. So all of these different individuals come together to make this deal happen. You only have to worry about the first stage of the funnel, which is these 4 steps: finding property, talking to the agent, analyzing the deal, and making that one initial first offer, not negotiating or closing or anything else beyond that. All right, let me check before I move on. Would agent bring deal to me rather than listing it? Oh, why would they? Well, agents want to get the deal sold quickly. And some deals are retail deals, which are not what we do typically. And they'll list those, and they're looking for a very large pool of retail buyers. So the MLS is primarily set up for retail buyers. But if they have a listing that is an as-is investor type listing, they're looking for investors, and the fastest way they can unload that property is by having relationships with investors like us. So relationships are key in the real estate investing world. Whether you're a wholesaler like we are, or you're an agent, anytime you're dealing with an investment property, relationships are a very important part of the whole process of getting it moved quickly. Jay, did that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
All right, cool. On. Let's see here. Let's see if I can turn this transcript on. Yeah, somebody the other
The
day.
transcript already on.
What was that?
It's already on. If you
Okay,
they
great.
just got to hit the caption button.
I have to hit the caption button.
If you want to see it, you got to push the caption button.
Oh, individuals. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Right on. All right, let's move on to the next step of this process or the presentation, which is filling the funnel. So that's the very first responsibility that you have, is actually filling that funnel. And basically the reason that you're putting in offers, as Jerry Norton says, it's not to get the deals. The offer is actually to help filter out who are motivated. So you have to think about it in the world of numbers. There's going to be, for every 100 offers put out there, only 20% of those offers will actually want to negotiate. So if you look back at this funnel screen right here, only 20% will want to negotiate, and only 20% of those will want a contract. So at 100 offers, only 20 of those 100 want to negotiate, and only 4 of those 20 will want to contract. So the more offers you put into the funnel, the more contracts you'll get out of the funnel. And out of those contracts, only 50% or maybe even 25% of those contracts will turn into actual paychecks. So if you put in 100 offers, you should get 1 to 2 deals out of the system. And you want to think in terms of KPIs, or key performance indicators. The more numbers you put in, the more dollar numbers you get out. So if you put in 100 offers, you should expect to get 1 to 2 deals out of it. If you put in 200 offers, you should expect to get 2 to 4. So if you make it a goal, a timeline, how quickly can I put in 200 offers so that I can get 4 to 8 deals out of this for my paycheck? And if you outline how many offers you can do per day or per week or even per hour, then you can determine how long it'll take you to do those 200 offers. So here's what Jerry Norton says about it. 5 offers in less than 1 hour was one of his videos. Jamil and Ryan, 10 offers in under 2 hours. Personally, I don't see that you can really build rapport and gather the information you need in 12 minutes. Because 5 offers in less than an hour means an offer in less than 12 minutes. So I do believe that once you're experienced, you can do 3 offers an hour. That's every 20 minutes. But even if it takes you longer, if you're doing one offer per hour because you're newer, that means everyone has said they can dedicate 15 hours or more. Some said 15 to 20, some said 21 to 30. Everyone's schedules are different. Hold on one second here. We got some noise happening somewhere. There we go. So if you can just try to make a goal of how many offers you can put in per your hours worked. So let's say that you can do 20 hours a week. Everyone said at least 15, but let's say that you said 20. So if you're doing 20 hours a week, make a goal to put in 20 offers a week. If you do 20 offers a week, then that means in 5 weeks, you should have 100. So you should get potentially 1 to 2 deals within that 5 weeks. Or within 10 weeks, you should have 2 to 4 deals out of it. So that's how you can evaluate how quickly you can do deals. But at the same time, 1 offer per hour is quite slow. So as you get better and better at it, you can move from 1 offer per hour to 2 offers per hour to 3 offers per hour. So if you're doing 2 offers per hour and you're working 20 hours a week, now in a week, you can do 40 offers. So within 5 weeks, you'll have 4 to 8 deals. Is that right? No, 2 to 4 deals out of the system. It's all a matter of you want to figure out 2 KPIs here. One KPI is your speed, and the other KPI is your quantity. So can I do 1 offer per hour, 2 offers per hour, or 3 offers per hour, and try to get faster and faster as you move along? The other KPI that you want to monitor is how many offers am I doing per week? Am I putting in 5 offers per week, 10 offers per week, 20 offers per week, or 40 offers per week, or 50? So as you get better and better, that number of offers per week will improve. And as you grow your offers per week, then you'll also grow your deals per week. Let me see if there's any questions here. Yeah. Thank you, Mary. Yes. Okay, moving on to the next screen. The responsibility number 2 is basically building the agent network, building agent rapport. Agent rapport, the idea behind rapport is that they feel comfortable with you and with your team, because we're all a team. So you're going to pass the ball to the acquisition manager. So you start that relationship with the agent, and the acquisition manager will continue to build on that relationship with that agent. That way the agents feel comfortable doing deals with us. The more comfortable they feel with us, the more they will send us new listings. They'll want to send us listings. One of the challenges that agents have with wholesalers are dishonest, or wholesalers that are saying one thing but really doing another. Maybe they're portraying themselves as a buyer when they're not really a buyer. Maybe they're portraying that they can close deals super easy, and then in the end they don't close the deals and they just lock up the property. So part of building the agent rapport is being honest with them and helping them to see that you can be an asset, not just for this deal, but for every other deal that they have coming along through their pipeline, that we can be an arm to help them unload it. By having a team of dedicated disposition people that is building up a buyer's list, that helps us to be able to take care of any deal that they put into our plate, as opposed to a haphazard arrangement where you may or may not be able to actually unload that deal. And then the third responsibility that you have is basically just growing. And that's why we have the acquisition managers here to help you out. You don't have to worry about negotiating and closing because they're taking care of that for you so that you can master these first 4 steps, and they will be helping you master them. So the idea behind this system is that we have the property finders are mentored by the acquisition managers for free. You're not paying for that mentorship. They're just helping you out so that you can become better and better at your job and more deals go into the pipeline. But then they want to train you to take their place. That way they can move on to be disposition managers and you can move on to be an acquisition manager. And as you move on, then you can pay it backwards or pay it forward, I should say, for that mentorship by training the new property finders that come in to work on your team. You can help them to become better. And also the disposition managers or manager that you work under will mentor you to that next level. So one of the main concepts behind our company is that everyone is assisted to grow. Everyone helps each other to grow. It's a team effort, and we're a lot better together than we are individually. Let me look at the chat here. No problem, class. We're happy to have you here. Replay, yes, we are going to have a replay available after the training. All right, so now let's get into actually the process. How do we do the first step of the deal, which is locating the deal? So hold on 1 minute here while I get my Zoom, my Privy set up. Let me share my screen. All right. So when you go into Privy, I'm just going to zoom into Indianapolis and show you how this works. So you're going to see the blue area basically says that area is listed on MLS. Once you zoom in far enough, it starts to give you the bubbles. The larger bubbles means there's more properties within that area, and as well as the number within the bubble. So these are large numbers. We can see there's more properties within here. But one of the first things I want to do in this process of actually locating a potential deal is finding flipper land. So what I call flipper land is where people are actually doing the fix and flips, where there's a lot of flipper activity. So in order to find that, I'm going to switch from active to sold, and I'm going to go to fix and flip, and I'm going to leave it at the 75%. And this will help me to locate where the fix and flips are actually happening. So now I'm going to hit the run. And notice the numbers are way smaller now. It was in the 800s. Now it's down to the 200s. So this shows the properties that have been flipped over the last year, the last 12 months. This is just an algorithm. It's basing these details for what constitutes a fix and flip based off of the price difference from when it was purchased the first time to when it was sold within a 12-month period, as well as that time frame, the 12-month period. So those are the key factors to determining that the algorithm uses to determine if it's a fix or flip or not. So as you zoom into any particular area, those bubbles will break out into actual homes. And now you can see where the fix and flips are actually happening. So if you find an area with a lot of activity, then you can focus on that area in particular. And within our system, you'll be assigned a particular geography so that we don't overlap each other. And you can search within that geography for fix and flip territory. And you'll notice that your area might be large, a huge section of a metro, but within that metro, within that area that you're given, there will be multiple spots in which you can do searching for lots of fix and flip activity. So in this scenario right now, I'm going to search in this box right here because I can see there's a lot of activity in this area. Actually, I'm going to go down a little further. I'm going to do this area. So then I take my little pencil and I'm going to say, just show me properties in this region right here. There we go. So now that I have penciled that out, that's the, look at my outline again. Yeah, so once I pencil that out, then I go to the next step of the process, which is the filter setup. So I'm going to go back to the filter, and this time I'm going to look on active instead of sold. By doing that, let me go ahead and run the search. It's going to show me the active ones in the same region that are within 70, or I should say at least, no more than 75% of the after repair value. In other words, they are potential fix and flip properties. What is the number that ARV for this area? Generally, any neighborhood will be within an ARV range, whether you're talking about a high-end neighborhood, a middle-class neighborhood, or a lower-class neighborhood. Once you know that ARV range, that will help you set up the filters for that area. So just to get an idea what we're looking at for the ARV range, I'm just going to pick one of these properties here. I'm going to take a peek at the property and see what sort of condition it's in. And it doesn't look bad. It's a decent looking house. It looks like they actually did not a high-end fix and flip, but a low-end fix and flip. It looks, pretty decent, more like a rental type fix and flip. So I'm going to go down here and see what else is in that area. This one sold for $165 per square foot. And it's probably just because of the level of the fix and flip that they did. This one sold for $227 per square foot. This one, $277, $226, and $256. So I'm going to say probably $250-ish is the general after repair value of these houses. If I go look at the price tag for these houses, this one was bought at $160, sold at $260. This one was bought at $186, sold at $252. So this one is sold at $215. So around $250 for after repair value, around $250 per square foot for dollar per square foot for ARV. That gives me an idea when I go to my filters, if I want to use those for filtering, how can I set them up? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to my filter, and I can say, I know the properties for ARV, there's a price per square foot right here. They're generally coming in after repair value about $250. So I'm just going to say, I want to only see property that's under $200. That way they're not priced too high. If they're priced too high per dollar per square foot, then they're probably not what we're looking for this particular neighborhood. I can do the same thing on the actual price of the house. If it's at $250 already, it's not going to be a deal. So I'm just going to take this down to $200 as well and say, I don't want to see any properties over $200. That's like a starting point. You can play with these filters to pull out little new opportunities within them, but these will give you, it'll strip out some of the deals that aren't really deals. You can do day on market. The day on market will help you to see who might be more motivated. The longer it's on the market, the more likely that they'll be willing to negotiate. So I'm just going to do 60 days on market. That's going to strip out a lot of deals. So this might be your first pass by stripping out the stuff that's out of range, that doesn't look like a good deal, and stripping out the stuff that's less than 60 days on market. That's like the very beginning of your filter, and just see what it pulls up. So in this case, it didn't pull up anything. My filter was too tight. So I'm going to take this down from 60 days on market down to 30 days on market. And I'm going to try again. Now it's making me wonder if I did something wrong. Let me try again. I'm going to take the price. Take it. Oh, 200. That's what I did wrong. Should be 200,000. That's more like it. So yeah, 200,000, not 200. All right, so now that we have this filter, it filtered out a lot of the properties that maybe not as motivated, maybe there's not enough money in them. And most of these could be potential deals that you can put in offers for. So let's just take a peek at them. Well, this one here obviously needs some work. So if I click on that one, I can see that, you know, it looks like it's in stages of being redone. Looks like somebody started a project and ended up not wanting to complete the project. So that could be a potential deal that we could follow up on. So looking at the property, basically, if you start examining the property, before you call the agent, you want to get a story in your head about this property. And the images will help you kind of get a feel of what the story is. So maybe this was a flipper that ran out of money. Maybe this was somebody who actually owned the property and wanted to enlarge it, but probably, you know, an investor that that ended up just not being in position to close, to make the deal happen 100%. So you can pick up where they left off, or I should say the buyer. I always say you or me, we can, but in reality, we're in the head of the buyer, right? When we're wholesaling, we are representing the buyer. So we think of ourselves as the buyer because we're their marketing arm, and what's good for them is good for us. So we want to make sure that the deal is good for them. So we, as in the buyers, are looking at this property and seeing what condition is it in, what can I do with this property, what needs done. The nice thing is it's already taken down to studs. They've done some wiring. You don't have to worry about pulling out all the trash before you work on the project. It's only 45,000. So there's a lot of potential in this property. Looking at here, attention investors, next project, it's a 2-2, already been taken down to studs, all new plumbing and electrical run-ins, new windows, exterior doors designed with vaulted ceilings, pocket doors and set for can lights, master suite set up for walk-in closet and stand-up tile shower. Wooded lot has tons of potential. Bring your contractors and your imagination. So a cash only deal, obviously, looking for a quick sell. This is a perfect property for a fix and flipper if the deal is right for that area. So you kind of get that flavor, but are there questions that this poses that you can ask the agent? Well, yeah. I mean, why did they stop? Why did they get this far and then drop the deal? Was it a zoning issue? Was it some license, or I should say, what do you call it? Not license, but permitting issue. Thank you. Yeah, brain fog. So yeah, permitting issue, or did they simply run out of money? Did they go bankrupt? But you got to kind of figure out what the issue is to make sure to pass that on to your buyer, so that you know it's not something that's going to be an insurmountable issue. And it's been sitting on the market now. It just had a 15,000 drop. That's a huge drop from 60 to 45. It dropped 25%. So that's a good potential deal right there. But it's been on the market for some 30 days. Let me look down here and see what it says. 41 days. So why has it been sitting on the market so long? You know, is there an issue? So as you're talking to the agent, you want to be collecting that information so that it can uncover some pieces of the puzzle and help you make an appropriate offer on the property. So at this point in time, you don't have to analyze it yet. You're just gathering information, trying to figure out what's going on with this property. What questions can you ask the agent? You don't have to run the numbers at all yet. After you do that, next step is to actually call the agent. Are 2 bedrooms something we want to entertain? Oh, sure. Yeah, so every market is different. And you want your property to be something that works for that particular neighborhood. So if you're in a high-end neighborhood and most of the houses are 4 bedroom, 3 bath, 2,500 square feet, then no, a 2-2 doesn't work for that neighborhood. So maybe the solution is to actually expand the house. If it's a higher end neighborhood and you have a low end house, that's a good opportunity, but it's going to be an opportunity to build the house bigger to match the neighborhood. But if your neighborhood is full of tiny homes, you know, like this one is only 756 square feet, it's pretty small. Well, are the rest of the houses in that neighborhood the same? If there's a lot of fix and flip activity, that's what you want to see, is what else is going on in the neighborhood. If there's fix and flip activity in the neighborhood, then yes, it could be a good potential deal. If there's no fix and flips in the neighborhood for that sort of size, then it's not a good deal. Looking over here, I see this is 756, this is 846, 672, 864. These are in the same bracket. This is a 2-1, this is a 2-1. This doesn't say, it's not going to be a 0, but it's probably a 2 as well because of the square footage. So just because it's a 2 does not mean it's a no deal. If other investors are fix and flipping in the neighborhood, then it's a potential deal for that particular size of house. So you want to see what others are doing. Are fix and flippers actively flipping in that neighborhood on houses that are pretty much the same size? If they are, then it's a good property to go after. If they're not, then you might want to stay away from it.
How can you tell? Just want to see what you're going to say.
What was that, Reginald?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. I thought I was muted. I was just going to say, how can you tell? How can you tell if other investors are buying in that area?
Okay, so right here, the investor button pops up because we put in the filter the criteria of fix and flip with a percentage bar. Remember that 75% bar? When we do that, it'll automatically try to filter for investor activity. That's why we have this blue button that says investor 3. And that kind of is a pre-filter for investor activity. But let me show you another way you can tell. If you click on all activity and you go to sold, because I don't care about anything but sold, now you can see how many red ones are in this area. All of these are sold, but not necessarily investor activity. If I see a stack like this one right here, this is right next door. It's only 0.1 miles away. They bought it for 91K. They sold it for 210. That stack right there tells me it's an investor property. 196 moving to 235. Now that one is investor property, but it's a much larger house. So it's, you know, not really a match. This one is a 2-2. So they bought this one. It's a little bit bigger, but they bought it as a 2-bedroom. They sold it as a 2-bedroom, and they sold it for $199 per square foot. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yeah, if other people are doing it, you can do it too. If it's in that neighborhood, you're good to go. All right, so the next step of the process is actually to call up the agent. And when you call up the agent, the idea behind it is, number one, to build rapport with that agent. You want that agent to know who you are and what you're doing. You know, they're running a business. They got a lot of people calling them. What they don't like is when people call them up and just play games with them. That's how they view it. And they're not really willing to work with them to make the deal happen. Maybe they're misrepresenting themselves. But when you go in to talk to them, tell them, you know, I'm part of this organization. We have within our organization, we have people that have our, you know, we have our buyers, we have our partners, and we make deals happen. So if we can find a price that works for our flippers, then let's make a deal work. And you just go in straight up with them. And along with the setting of the report, you want to be able to do what they call an upfront contract. So an upfront contract is when you speak to them out of the gate and saying, I don't want to chew up your time. I don't want to waste your time. I'm looking for a good deal. And I want to see if this deal will work for us and will work for you and your seller, your client. If it does, let's make this deal happen. And that way they know out of the gate that, you know, you're in there for a purpose, who you are, what you're doing, and then they're ready for that conversation. You've already done your homework on the property. You know the challenges or the images and the description and what the question marks are. So now you can start with your questions. I'd just like to ask, you know, what if you can tell me what's going on with this property? I see that some work started, but suddenly ended. And let them open up. Let them tell you anything and everything that they will about the property. And as they are telling you more things, there's going to be more information that comes out of that conversation, such as they might tell you how motivated the seller is, how flexible they are on price, or if there's no flexibility. They might tell you the timeline information, like how soon they need to get out of this property. You know, if this seller is on a hard money loan, they might need to get out of it super fast because perhaps every month they're losing $1,000 or more. Being is that they're selling for only 45K, it tells me that they probably don't have that much money in hard money because they need to sell it to be able to cover their hard money costs. But whatever the case is, you want to gather as much of that information as possible, and in particular, why this thing stopped. That way, you know, we can have that information and be able to negotiate properly on this house and find a buyer. You know, the buyers are going to ask the same thing. What's going on with this property? Why did it stop like this? And then maybe it'll work for a buyer, maybe it won't. But that's part of the step we're in right now, is that information gathering from the agent before we move on to the next step of the process. So one moment here. Yeah, so the last thing we want to do when we're talking to the agents is frame our offer. We haven't made the offer yet, but we want to talk to them in a way that they understand where our offer is going to be. In the case of this property, it's already really low. So are we going to bring it down another 30K? No. Right. There's no way we're going to bring it down 30K, but we could potentially bring it down another 15K. And we need to see, you know, if we're doing online MLS and it's already been out there for 40 days, the challenge that we'll have with this property is we need to be an asset to our buyers. If the buyers could simply go on Privy and find it themselves, why do they need us? So we need to bring it down, negotiate it down to a level that they're saving some money. Somehow they're saving money. If it's on the market for 40 days, we have to be able to save them money. That's our value we're bringing to the table. But if the property is brand new out of the gate, we might lock it up for 45 and sell it to them for higher. And then the value we're bringing to them is just snatching it before somebody else snatched it. So we want to think about the price tag and where we're going to land with this deal before we actually make the offer and run the numbers, but we want to prep the agent for that potential. So if I look at a different opportunity in this listing, let me take this one. Let me do this one. Okay. Looking at this property, it looks in pretty good shape. Maybe it's a deal, maybe it's not. They could turn the basement square foot into money. It's probably more like maybe a hotel, but there's not a lot of work that can be done in this property unless you like totally redo the kitchen. It's already in decent shape, so that may be a deal, but it's, you know, on the higher end already, so a price tag, so maybe it's not. Let me try this one here. Again, it looks fairly decent. That's probably not something we want to go after. Let me try another one. Yeah, again, it looks pretty decent. It's, you know, not high-end finishes. It's more like renter finishes. Let me try one more. Let me try a 99K one. I can see it can use a little bit of curb appeal. Bushes aren't trimmed. This needs painted. Some minor stuff so far. Yeah. So this could use some work, definitely. Not in terrible shape, but it definitely, this would be a good opportunity for a fix and flip. Again, it's a 2-bedroom, 960 square foot, but that might be a deal depending on the neighborhood. It's at 99K. So can this 99K be dropped to 30K? Perhaps it can. We have to figure out the after repair value before we actually, you know, we want to kind of prep them for where our ballpark number might be. So, you know, just looking at the other homes in this neighborhood that are fix and flipped, this is 99. We're at 103 per square foot, basically 1,000 square foot. So we might be looking at after repair value, something like 140K, this is 160K, 180K, 160. So let's call it 160. So after repair value is 160. We know that we're gonna, with this property, in order to do it for 160, we're gonna have to bring it much below that price because of putting the repairs into it, double closing, and all the costs. You don't have to have the number solidified when you talk to them, but just tell them, you know, to make this work, we might have to drop the price even more. Do you think they'd be willing to negotiate so that we can make a deal happen? And listen to what the seller's agent says. If the seller says, no, they can't really negotiate because they have a mortgage and the mortgage is 98K, so they really can't go any lower, or the mortgage is 95K or whatever. And then you know where they're at and you know if you can price drop or not. Or they might say, well, they do need to unload. We just dropped it 6K, but we haven't seen activity yet. So just put in an offer and let's see what happens. So you're framing the low offer. By framing that low offer, they're expecting that offer to come in lower, and they know the reasons why. You know, you can tell them the costs involved, the rehab, the double close, the hard money, and then it makes more sense to them. And then they can sell your offer to the house owner. By selling your offer to them, then the house owner, the person selling the house, is more likely to accept that deal from you or be willing to at least negotiate with you to make a deal happen. So that's the last step of actually talking to the agent. The last step is actually making sure that they know that you're here to do deals. So even if this deal doesn't work out, form that relationship and say, hey, I don't know if this deal in particular is going to work, but we're here to do deals. So anytime you get a fresh investor listing, please give us a call. We want to do deals with you. That's the last step of the process with the agent. Are all these for investors? No, Mary. What we saw was that some of the houses didn't really look good for investors because they're already too far along. They might be completed for a rental setup or maybe even better than that, but they probably are not investor properties unless they need updating badly. They need repairs. They're not going to fly off the market with a retail buyer. This house obviously needs some work. It's got old style paneling. It doesn't have the curb appeal that it could have. So yeah, this is a good investor property. But the others that we saw before this, the 2 or 3 before this, were not necessarily good investor properties. Does that answer your question, Mary?
What I meant was, let's see, on the screens that you had, I thought we had already zeroed in the privy tool to the ones that are most appealing to investors before you even looked at the pictures.
Right.
And so then by the time you looked at the pictures, I thought, well, why are we seeing these? Because they really aren't investors, even though I thought we had zeroed in prior to that.
Right. No, good question, Mary. The thing is when we go to the filter right here, this is simply a formula, a program that will help filter out the non-investor deals. But it does not mean that all of the deals that are displayed are real investor deals. So if I take this out and I take this out, and now I do this filter again, well, let me get this off of the map too. It's going to show me a whole lot more properties. Well, in this case, not that many more, but of the properties that it would show potentially, like this 210K, that's probably not going to be a deal because it's already too high of a price tag. So the idea behind the filters isn't that it will only show you good deals, but it's to help filter out less of the deals that probably are not. It's to increase your chances as you're clicking through the deals that what you find are actual deals. Does that make make sense, Mary?
I don't know that changed at all this time around. Are these it's too hard for me to see anyway on my computer. Are each of these representing one house?
Yes. Each of these
Okay.
are one house.
So I didn't see the change that we should have seen, because before you put all those filters on before, we had a whole lot more houses than this. I thought they were different colors too.
Right. So this did change slightly. Like this 210 was filtered out before. There are probably others, 1 or 2, but not that many that were filtered out. If I go to filter,
these are still investor properties rather than all the other red colors and all that.
this is active listings. The idea
Oh.
behind it, you, Mary, and everyone else in here, you have to determine if it's an investor property. That's your function. So the filters will help you filter out what is or isn't, but in the end, it's just a computer formula. It's not going to do that job. You have to actually look at the pictures and say, is this an investment property or is it not an investment property? There's no way for the computer to do all that work for you. You have to actually look at the pictures and tell. The filter is just going to help you with your job. In this case, there is very limited difference between before and after the filter, but there was some difference. Now, if I go to sold instead of active, it's going to show me the ones that were sold. So this is the properties in this area that I can see. These are fix and flip properties potentially that happened within that range of 75%. Once I click over to active and say only show me the active, These are the potential deals, not necessarily the actual deals, but potential deals. And the more I filter out, the more likely the deals will be actual deals, but also the less possibilities will actually show up. So if I say only give me 60 days on market, it's going to show me less deals because it's only showing me deals that are on the market at least 60 days. But it also means that they have a higher potential of negotiating because they've been on the market longer. So the filters there simply to give us an aid in filtering out the stuff that is more, filtering in the stuff that's more likely to be a deal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is an investment or property. Does that make sense, Mary?
Yes, but also last week you showed the repair estimator with 6 things we're looking at, and I thought we did that. When do we do that? Because you said we're calling the realtor now, but then that's our last step, and I've missed how we got.
I'm going to show you that in a second, Mary. I'll be right over there to that as soon as I'm done with the agent, talking to the agent part.
So the first thing we do is talk to the agent before we do that repair estimator thing?
Yeah, you can do it either way. You can do the repair estimate ahead of time, or you can do it after the agent, but you don't give the agent a number. You don't tell the agent what your offer is going to be over the phone. So if you want to do it before, that works. If you want to do it after, that's perfectly fine too. Some people like to do it before, some people like to do it after.
So we give the offer through an email then?
Correct. Mhm.
Okay, gotcha.
You don't want to give the offer over the phone unless you
Okay.
absolutely have to, because you want to be able to gather information over the phone and then use that information that you just collected to make sure of your numbers before you submit your offer. So after you're done with the phone and you hang up, then you can make sure of the numbers to make sure that they're, something that's good.
Okay, thank you.
You betcha. Okay, so I'm going to flip over to what Mary was talking about now, which is the actual calculator, how we run these numbers. Before I do that, any other questions in the chat?
I had another question.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to know, we say we're working for Harp Home Solutions, but are we using our phone number? But then when the realtor calls back, they're going to end up calling the next person up the chain, the acquisition manager. Does this get confusing to the realtor? How does this work?
You just tell them you're part of a team. You let them know that you're working as a team and you have your manager and they're going to be negotiating it out, but you're finding information on the property to see if it'll work for our team.
So they realize that everybody's going to have a different phone number because they're used to working with people that don't really work for companies, right? That work as individuals.
Yeah, there's a lot of JV agreements out there in this world, so it's not that uncommon.
But are we calling realtors potentially from the list that you've already come up with? Do these realtors know, are they familiar with working with wholesalers and assigning contracts and things?
Some are, some aren't. You're
Okay.
going to get both types. Some will be familiar working with realtors and others aren't. The ones you want for your pocket listings that are going to bring you deals, they will be more familiar with working with investors. But the ones that are used to working with retail buyers, they will be more challenging. They many times will not understand our scenario, and they're not really the ones we're looking at for building long-term relationships, unless they see the value in it and they say, yeah, let me try that out. But typically the best the best realtors that you want in your pool of realtors relationships are those that get it, those that understand real estate investing.
But we're not going to get pocket listings initially, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and they're going to do that. I mean, maybe they will out of the gate, but a lot of times those pocket listings come and go. So if you're talking to them on the phone about one particular property, you can ask them, do you have any other deals? Maybe they do, and maybe they don't. But if they don't, you want to be the first person that they call.
Okay. All right. And you are going to get together a checklist or a script or something to talk to these realtors?
Yeah, so I put together one already and I'm gonna be publishing it. But it'll be out within a few days.
Okay. And I'm still waiting for someone to contact me to get in. So that's
Yeah,
why
there's a
I'm-
waiting list right now, Mary. So
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be a short time frame. So depending on when you came in, you know, we're trying to do it from the first come in the door and work our way down, but there'll be more people coming into the system after the end of this week. And then others will be coming in the following week, depending on when they, you know, when they signed up. Does that make sense, Mary?
Yeah. So it's first come, first serve,
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
you're welcome. All righty. 1 second here. All right, so I'm going to show my calculator now for PFs. So this calculator is built specifically for Jacksonville. So whichever market you're in, you'll be given access to a calculator that's specific to your market. And this calculator is built as basically a quick calc, a back of napkin calc, or you could call it a ballpark calculator. So you put in number 1, the square feet. Number 2, the list price. Number 3, the days on market. And number 4, the after repair value of that house. Number 5, what level of rehab that it requires. And number 6, come on, major reno extras. So I'm going to walk through each of these to help you figure out how you can develop a price for this property. So let me go over to Privy. I'm going to pick one of the houses. Let me go back to the filter, active, fix and flip. Let me go back to 30 days on market. Price 200,000. Let me call it done. Actually, I'm going to do 150,000. Run the search. So these are the most likely deals in this neighborhood. If I pick one of these deals, let me just try this deal right here. Okay, so if I want to figure out what the after repair value is on this house, come down to this screen right here. This shows me a ½ mile box around the house. I want to stay within that ½ mile, if at all possible. And I also want to stay on the right side of any major roads. So here looks like a major road crossing, but let's just see, you know, it would basically chop off it to this point right here. As it stands, Privy will try to give you the blue button investor properties, which they're already filtered down to properties that kind of match the square footage, maybe beds and baths, that sort of detail to tell you if it's a comp or not. If there's not enough properties in the investor, then you can click on all activity to get even more properties. So the first thing I like to do when I come down to this filter is go to the days on market. If it's too old, then it's outdated. So there's one method is just get rid of the ones that are old. The other method is if you don't have any other properties that are a good match, just do older properties, but subtract a % off of it because of the fact that it's older. So I'm going to sort it by the date. I'm going to chop off the ones from May because those are pretty old and we got a lot of properties on here right now. Matter of fact, I'll get rid of June too. Just chop them, chop and chop them. There we are. Now, July, that's still 4 months back, but we're getting closer to the time frame. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the dollar per square foot. I know the lower end properties are not, even though that sold at 71, it probably sold at 71 because an investor bought it and they're going to be fixing it. I can guarantee you this price tag means it is not a fix and flipped property. If I go look at this, I can see the state of the property, and yeah, it's definitely not a fixed property. So that means that I can just cut out the low end houses because they are not after repair value. There's no way they're after repair value. Once I get up a little bit higher, I want to be a little bit more judicious about chopping them out. I can get these back when I hide them. I have to reset, but when I reset, I got to start from scratch. So at first, I'll do a first level filter, and then I might filter out a little bit more. There's still a fair amount of properties in this listing. So the next thing I want to do is the square foot. Because I'm using the blue button, they all should be fairly close in square foot. And I do see all of these properties that are showing up are within a couple hundred square feet. So they're fine for this filter. There's levels. This is a single level. We only want single level, and it looks like they all are. Basement, we don't have a basement. Some of the others do. That will significantly change the value of the price. So I'm going to get rid of anything with a basement. So I'll get rid of that one, get rid of that one, get rid of that one, and get rid of that one. The build generation, this is a 1930. So I'm looking for old stuff like 1960 or back. If it's newer than 1960, it's not in the same build generation. And all of these are older than 1960, so we're good to go. If it's some buyers might want 1950 or newer, some might want 1900 or newer. But when you get placed into a market, the disposition manager, they're in contact with the buyers. They're building those buyer relationships, getting the buy boxes, and they feed that information down to the acquisition manager who tells you what to search for. So if they say, don't bring me anything older than 1950, well, that's the case because our buyers don't want anything older than 1950. But there are a lot of buyers that will take properties as early as 1900 or even earlier. So you need to base your decision off of the information you get fed from your acquisition manager, who's being fed from the disposition manager. Let me look at the chat real quick. No problem, Jay. I'm glad to have you here. Mary, do we use a separate phone number, even if Google Voice, and set the message to answer Harp Home Solutions? You don't have to, Mary. You can use your own phone. Realtors, they use their own phone too. In this business, it's not a problem to use your own phone. If you prefer use a Google Voice number, you can. It's not a problem either. Okay, so now I've kind of filtered it down to a lower set. I want to filter out a few more to get my number tightened up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking at these lower dollar for dollar per square foot and seeing what they look like. I'm pretty sure with it, this one is not a fix and flip based off of the price tag. Yeah, and sure enough, it's not. So I'm just going to hide it because I know it's not a fix and flip. And then I can go to the next one and do the same thing. Oh, accidentally hit it. I'm just going to leave it because I'm pretty sure that's not a fix and flip either. But let me take a look at this one. Now we're getting close to where it could potentially be a low end fix and flip. Yeah. So, you can tell that the counters they're not high end countertop. It's not a high end project, but it was redone. So this is a kind of a low quality fix and flip. But that tells us the range. A low end fix and flip is in the range of 126. This is a stack, right? 127. So they bought it at $76 a foot, sold at 127. So again, that's a low end fix and flip. Down here, I take a look at this one and see what sort of quality they did here. Usually kitchens and baths are kind of giveaway. So you can see the quality of the fixtures, of the countertops, the tile work. the flooring. And, they're using butcher block counters as opposed to stone. So it's kind of middle of the road, not high end either, but definitely a fix and flip property. Everything looks nice and shiny. You got black here versus stainless. So could they have done a little bit better? Sure, but it's not bad. But that tells us where the range is for fix and flips. Low end range 127, high end range 167. So you go right down the middle. What is that? 147 is down the middle. So 147, 150. That's probably where I would put the actual ARV value of dollar per square foot. I'm going to call it 147. Let me look at the chat here. Okay, Mary, I'll save those questions for later. That way we don't interrupt the flow, but we'll come back to that. So I'm going to go back over. Hold on one second. And I'm going to put into here dollar per square foot, 147. Now it wants the square foot of the house. So I'm going to come back here, look at the square foot of the house we're looking at, 1224. You punch that into the calculator. List price, 65K. Days on market, 39. We already did the after repair value dollar per square foot. So now looking at the renovation type, is it going to be a lipstick? Lipstick is basically you're doing yard work, curb appeal, patches, maybe interior paint, but you're typically not doing flooring. You're definitely not doing countertops or moving walls or anything like that. Cosmetic, with a cosmetic, you're probably painting interior, maybe painting exterior, and perhaps some flooring, but you're not getting too deep. Basic, with a basic renovation, now you might be doing a little bit more extensive. You're replacing the appliances. You're putting in new, maybe new cabinetry, redoing the kitchen, the baths. That's typical for a fix and flip, to redo kitchens and baths and all your fixtures, all your cosmetics, your flooring, and anything else that is not too major will fit into basic. Maybe you're repairing the roof, maybe it's good to go. But once you get too deep into the project, then it becomes a gut. And in a gut job, now what you might be doing is like putting in a rafter, a beam all the way across. That way you can make it open concept and take out walls. Maybe you have to replace your electrical, replace your plumbing, replace your sewer. So it's a lot more extensive once you get to the gut job to bring it up to speed. Maybe you have issues with lead paint, maybe you got issues with asbestos or mold. And then beyond that, you get to destroyed. Destroyed is like a total teardown. You might, at gut, perhaps you take it down to studs. With a destroyed, perhaps you take it all the way down to the foundation. And, there's still value there with a destroyed. If you have a foundation that's good to go, then you can use that foundation to build up again from that. You have utilities at the property, your permitting's all there for the current structure. You might have to adjust the permits to, on a destroyed property, but you don't have to worry about saying, can I get 1,000-foot house on this property because the foundation's already laid. So there's, that as you go down the stack, the renovation gets more expensive and the timeline grows. So a lipstick might be just a couple of months versus this might be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, or something to that effect. So as it grows in the type of renovation, it grows in cost and it grows in risk factor. So we have to offer less as you move down this stack. And again, the buyers, may or may not be ready to take on a gut or a destroyed. So you have to talk to your management to see if in your market, are the buyers accepting a gut? Are they accepting a destroyed? Most flippers do the basic rehab. That's like the, what do you call it? You know, the bread and butter, the main meal. That's what they do, basic rehabs. The lipsticks and the cosmetics, those are pretty much always a win if you can get the price down far enough. They're a little bit harder to get the price down because they might be going after the actual retail market, depending on how bad it is. But with basic, now it's definitely an investor property, but down here it gets more and more risky. So the financial environment that we're in right now, there's less buyers that want a gut and even less buyers that want a destroyed. But your management will let you know if you should be looking for gut or destroyed or not. So looking back at this property in particular, looking at the pictures of this property, you gotta kind of get a feel of what needs done. Yeah, this definitely needs work in the kitchen. Some of the flooring looks pretty good. Bathroom looked like it needs redone. It needs some yard work. You're kind of taking an assessment of this property. You know, maybe the agent will send you more images. Maybe you can go off of what you have here, but you can see there's unfinished work over here as well. I would, with just the images that we have right now, if there's no other information received from the agent or from their images that they send you, I would call this a basic. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click on basic rehab. So when you do that, it tells you max price for this property is $31,500. So it's listed for 35. I'm sorry, its max price is 35. It's listed for 65, max available offer 35. That's what we can offer. But the first offer, we want to have negotiating room. So instead of offering our max allowable offer, we only offer 90% of that. That way we can have a little bit of space to negotiate this price up from there. Not that you're negotiating, you're submitting the first offer, and then your acquisition manager will negotiate from there. Does that make sense?
So I'm gonna tell them that I'm offering this, for example, 20,000.
In this scenario, you would offer 31,000.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Chris?
Oh no, I mean like you said, it need to be a little bit lower than that. So I should be saying 20,000.
Well, the max available offer or allowable offer is 35 with this calculator.
Okay.
So you're already lower than 35 by offering 31 or 32.
Okay.
If you go down to 20 from 65, they're just going to view you as a lowball offer and they're going to not even, give you the time of day.
Okay.
Right. So this.
It says first offer anyway. All right.
What is that?
It says first offer anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's the first offer is 31. So that gives you negotiating room between the max allowable offer of 35 and where you're at. Does that make sense, Chris?
Yes, it does.
Okay, cool. All right. Let's see here.
So Ralph, do they typically come down that much, $30,000 from 65 to 31 or 35?
It all depends on how motivated they are. It's a numbers game. So if you put in 100 offers, that's part of the deal is you have to realize most of them will not want to negotiate down to the price that we need it to be. There's a price tag that works. If it doesn't work for us, it's a no deal. If they're not willing to negotiate down to the point that works for us, it's a no deal. So out of 100 offers, Yolanda, how many of those 100 should end up being a contract?
Well, I've heard one offer out of every 50. I mean, one deal out of every 50 offers.
Yeah. So what we talked about earlier, maybe you weren't on at that point in time, is that out of 100 offers, you should expect about 4 contracts.
Okay.
So 96 of those will just go away. they're not going to be contracts. Maybe they're willing to negotiate. Maybe 20 out of those 100 will want to negotiate with you, but the other 80 are just going to say no, 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 no. So you have to be ready to accept those no's, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So at 65K, will they go down to 35? Maybe, but probably not. And then some of those will be the maybe. 20 of those will say, okay, let's talk. And then out of those 20, 4 of those on average will become contracts. And out of those contracts, 1 to 2 of those will actually be a paycheck deal. Does that make sense, Yolanda?
Yes, and so we are making, as property finders, we are making the first offer, or are we handing that over?
At this point in time, you are making the first offer.
Okay,
So we're talking about an adjustment within the company to try to help out property finders. We're going to have a meeting about that. But at this point in time, property finders are responsible for making the first offer.
okay.
Mary, don't they think it's a lowball offer to offer only or less than half the price? Sure, but that's the reality is we have to put the numbers where they work. So just like we mentioned a minute ago, they might think it's lowball, but by explaining out to them why we need the numbers where they're at, that helps for them not to view it as simply a lowball offer. Again, 80% of them will just think it's a lowball offer, but 20% of them might be willing to negotiate.
So question, so let's just say we make the offer and, it's no deal. Do we, and then maybe 2-3 weeks later, we look back, do we recycle and go back to see if those properties are still there, and then go back and try to renegotiate? So now you've been on the market 60 days now. When I called you, it was 30 days. Do we recycle those and go back?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you are working in tandem with the acquisition managers. And the acquisition managers are there primarily to negotiate the deal so that you don't have to worry about negotiating. They negotiate, they close, they kind of give you directions on where to search and how to search. But as far as going back to ones where you already presented an offer, you can definitely go back to them and say, hey, just wondering if you're open to an offer again. If it's been sitting for 60 days as opposed to 30, they might be ready to negotiate. And the market is changing. The market is dropping. So, your offer now may not be the same as your offer 30 days from now.
Okay.
If the market drops 10%, our offer might have to drop 10%. Does that make sense, Yolanda?
It makes perfect sense. And so this calculator, this is an available calculator that you've shared with everybody already, and I just missed it?
It's a calculator that once you get into our system, you'll get a link to your market calculator. So this one here is particular for Jacksonville, but depending on the market that you're put in, you might be doing Dallas, Fort Worth, Jacksonville, or Atlanta. Those are the 3 markets we're in right now. So you'll get the access to the calculator specifically for your market. So
okay, so I sent in my JV agreement, but I didn't hear any feedback. So I just want to make sure that you guys received it.
So let me get with Alex.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
I sent him a text, but he didn't answer. Maybe he's not available.
Today?
Yeah, just a little while ago, maybe about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, probably so. I talked to Alex earlier today.
Okay.
His wife is sick in bed and he had to run out and get some medicine.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably what's happening there.
No worries.
All right. Thank you, Yolanda, for understanding. I appreciate that. Let's see, Reginald. According to Compa, other homes like this one have been purchased and flipped at 65. So Reginald, if you want to unmute yourself, when you say purchased and flipped at 65, you're talking about 65,000?
Yes, Ralph, I totally get the concept. I was just just doing some little chit chat on the side, just with my colleagues I looked at the comps and
All right, that's cool. No problem.
Most of the, most of those homes in that area, similar to this one, they actually purchased it for 65 grand, so either way, this is a really, really good deal. That's a really, really good cash route.
Yeah. And these numbers I'm throwing at you right here, the 35K, that's built off of this calculator for Jacksonville, but we're looking at Indiana. So, this isn't necessarily the numbers for Indiana. The numbers for Jacksonville are different, right? So keep that in mind, because we don't have a calculator built for Indiana. I chose Indiana just because I picked a market. I do the deal or no deal on Thursdays, and typically when I do the deal or no deal, I'll go outside of the areas that we are investing in within our four walls, because I want to save that opportunity for the property finders that come into our system. So for the open public deal or no deal, I don't look at Jacksonville, Atlanta, or Dallas Fort Worth. And so I just got into that mode, and I went to Indiana for that reason.
Well, these were two fantastic deals. How can I be a part of deal or no deal on Thursdays? How can I get a part of that group?
Yeah. So there's a link. If you go to the Facebook for Creative Finance with Pace Morby, okay, or you go to the Discord group for Elephant Challenge, I post in there every week for the deal or no deal. Are you in either of those groups, Reginald?
Yes, and both.
Okay, just do a search for deal or no deal, and you'll find the link.
Got it.
So
Thank you.
every week I post it in both places.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you bet. All right, I see Mary asking for the link too. Hold on, let me try to find that link for you real quick. I have it in my Zoom, so give me a sec here.
So I've seen the link deal or no deal. So that's something different where we're individually bringing you a deal, or you're just looking at deals that we have and giving us your opinion about whether or not it is a good deal.
1 second. All right, there's the link for deal or no deal. I don't want to get off track too much, but just to give you an idea of what the deal or no deal is, that's a training that I put out for the public. So anybody can come to the deal or no deal. Typically what I focus on in this training are the steps that a property finder needs to do. So like last week's deal or no deal, I did it on actually talking to agents and the step-by-step process you go through when you're talking to an agent. And I spent 50 minutes. So it's in a little bit more detail. So you can go back and watch the replays. And once you get into our system, you'll also be able to see the replays, so that that replay will be a value to you because it's in more detail about one step all by itself. So last week was talking to agents. The week before that was finding properties. This coming week is going to be deal analysis. So I'm just going through them week by week and doing one small step of the process, breaking it down in detail. That's what deal or no deal is about. Does that make sense?
So is that deal or no deal open to the public then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it is. It's open to the public.
Okay. Yeah. And they have one listed for this coming Thursday, which is Thanksgiving.
It's going to be canceled. I'm going to cancel it for this week. And the next week's going to be canceled too, because next week is the Elephant Challenge.
Oh, okay.
I got to double check the date to make sure. Sometimes the date on the Elephant Challenge moves, but it's definitely canceled for this week. And anytime there's an Elephant Challenge, it's also canceled for that particular week.
So does that mean we won't have a Monday meeting next week also on this?
Not necessarily. I might cancel it. Next week is right after the holiday. I'll probably have the meeting on Monday as well.
Okay. When is the Elephant Challenge? Is that just certain days of the week when I have it?
Yeah. The Elephant Challenge is on typically Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You might have it on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But
Okay.
this meeting we're having today is not for the public. This meeting is specific for our Fat Juicy Deals business or Harp Home Solutions business. So we're
Right.
going to have these meetings irregardless of Elephant Challenge. The only
Okay.
thing that would cancel these meetings is if I was sick or if it's a holiday or something like that. But it has nothing to do with the Elephant Challenge.
Okay, thank you.
Because we run our business regardless of Elephant Challenge or any other challenge. Business is business.
Okay,
Does that
thank
make
you.
sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right, so that's how the calculator works. And then the last step of the process after we do that is to take all the details and submit it into our CRM. That way we can track the deal and its progress, and we can do the proper follow-up, and to actually submit the deal through email. So we'll, depending on your market, you might have an email that is, it's an LOI. You submit an LOI through email, or it might be an email template. So Dallas, Fort Worth is an LOI. Atlanta and Jacksonville are email templates. And we'll give you that template or LOI so that you can properly submit that first offer. Deal or no deal, 8 p.m. Eastern, which is shown in the link above. Yes, thank you, Mary. Okay, so that completes, the process of what property finders do. Those 4 steps, they have to, number 1, find a potential property, locate the property within Privy. Number 2, go through the listings, gather information, and try to do the intel ahead of time. Number 3, talk to the agent, build that rapport, get extra information from the agent, and prep them, frame the offer. And then number 4 is actually running the comps, running the numbers with the calculator, and then being able to, oh, I'm sorry, that was step 3. And then step 4 is to actually send the offer through email and submit the data through the CRM. So 1 is gathering information on the property, 2, talking to agent, 3, running the comps, 4, submitting the offer. That's the process. That's what property finders do. And you can work with your acquisition manager about all the hairy details for your market. And they'll be able to walk you through, what your numbers need to be for that market. Where's the calculator link? Anything you need to get flowing in that market. But let me be upfront with you, with everybody, on where we're at in this business. This is a newer concept that we're building. It's not built the same as many others. What we try to do is find an opportunity of building a business that is built on the idea of everyone helping each other out, JVing with each other in an organized, systematic process. We've invited a lot of people in. The vast majority of property finders have not taken action. So we're in the process of trying to help them to take action. It's not everyone is going to take action. A lot of people come in the doors with shiny object syndrome. They say, oh, this is cool, let's do this, and then they don't do this. So we want to give everybody as much help as possible, but in the end, if they don't take action, then we'll have to give their territory to somebody else. And that's when we invite you, who are, the new property finders who are on the sidelines, on the waiting list, will come in and take their spot. We don't want to dismiss anybody prematurely. Our goal is to help everybody that signs up with a JV agreement to be successful. And we'll do everything we can to help them. But ultimately, it's up to each individual to do their part. So any questions from anybody about the process and what's coming, what you'll need to do, or anything we've talked about today?
You said you were going to get back to the phone question. You said you're going to have a meeting and maybe making some changes in what our responsibilities are. I guess you'll release that after the meeting.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't get into too much details until we actually come to a decision. But the
Okay.
question mark is about the first offer and whether PFs are going to be making the first offer or acquisitions are going to make the first offer. So
Yeah,
potentially the
that's
idea would be that PFs just submit into the CRM and acquisitions make that first offer. But
Mhm.
there's no change at this point in time, and it might continue the same. You know, we need to make a decision as a team that makes sense across the board. So that's as it is right now, property finders will be making that first offer.
What if the realtors are difficult to reach? Oh, so I was asking about the answering hello and all that. Because if it's just your own phone, you're not going to know who it is. So you just answer hello and it could be the realtor calling you back.
Sure.
So that's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what about realtors that don't call back or whatever? And you keep trying, you know, is there a limit on how much you try and all that?
Yeah. So on your hello question, Mary, you just want to basically sound cheerful, friendly, professional, business-like. You don't have to say, this is Mary with Harp Home Solutions. You don't know who's going to answer, right? And a
Right.
lot of people that come in our doors, they're doing deals already in different markets, and that's not a problem. You know, if you're doing deals in, I don't know, Oregon or wherever you're at, that's not a problem. So you don't want to necessarily answer your phone as part of Harp Home Solutions. So you can just say, hey, this is Mary, or however you answer the phone typically in a nice, friendly voice. Now, your other question, can you repeat your other question, Mary?
About the realtors not calling back. So how do we approach that?
Yeah. So not all of them will call back. You know, it's their job to try to represent their client, right? But not every realtor is as good as the next. You can call them back 2 or 3 times. In the end, you don't want to waste hours on a non-responsive realtor. So one thing that we found that works is after several tries with a realtor, with a listing agent, then you can go on to a different agent that, you know, the idea here is that you build a partnership with an agent that will represent you anytime you need them to represent you. So if you have these agents that you have relationships with, then you can use them to go after that agent and after that deal. So by doing that relationship with another agent, you're not just a one-off, right? Every time you have a challenge getting a hold of a listing agent, they'll be in the mix. They'll get their percent out of the deal because they're an agent. So you want to build those relationships so that that will be your answer to an agent that you can't get a hold of. Does that make sense?
No, I thought you have to go to the agent who's listing that property. I didn't think you could go somewhere else.
Oh, you can go somewhere else. We suggest going to
Oh.
the listing agent because now you have a situation, pardon me, where that agent can get double the commission.
Oh, right.
So by getting double the commission,
Mhm.
that's a motivational factor for them to work with us and help us out.
Got it.
However, not every agent will feel comfortable doing that. And in some areas, I've heard that that's not legal in that state. So there will definitely be times, legal or not legal, you know, if it's not legal, you'll definitely need a different agent. If it is legal, then there'll be times where you just simply need another agent because you can't get a hold of the listing agent. Or maybe the listing agent doesn't want to represent you as well. So there will definitely be times where you need another agent.
Okay, cool.
Right
Thank
on.
you.
You betcha. Any other questions? All right, well, we're happy all of you were here today. And I think all of you signed up already, which is why you're here. If you haven't, is there anybody on this Zoom today that has not already signed the JV agreement? All right, cool. So for you that have, if you haven't heard back from Alex yet, he will be getting back to you. He'll review the information you submitted. He'll assign you, if he hasn't already, as a property finder. The fact that you're on this Zoom, it makes me think that he's already told you you're a property finder and given you your property finder link so that you can be on this training. That's how you got the information. But if that hole is missing, Alex will be getting you that information so that you can get set up in our system. We use Discord to communicate. So he'll set you up within Discord as a property finder so you can get into the communication. And then the next step of that is basically you're sitting on the waiting list so that as we need new property finders, Lynn Bell will assign you to a market, to an acquisition manager to work on their team. So any questions on how that flow, the onboarding process will work?
So
I have,
go ahead.
go ahead. Well, my thing is I actually have an email and it gave me a property finder, like a ID. And when I click on the link, it won't allow me to go in the link.
All right, hold on a second. So you clicked on the link for an email, you said?
Basically, I have my ID. So they said, this is your property finder ID. Go to this link and I guess I guess I was gonna finish setting it up or whatever. But it said, okay, you have your property finder ID. Click on here and put your property finder ID in. But when I click on that link, it just gives me a page, this page does not exist.
All right, Chris. So why don't you get with Mike Jones? He does our admin stuff. I don't know what link you're speaking of, but he can help you through whatever challenge that is. Are you in Discord, Chris? Are you in our Discord channel? No. You're on mute, Chris.
I don't have any other information. And so when they gave me that code, I thought I would go in there and get all the information that we always talk about, but I'm never able to get in that code.
All right, Chris. So I'll forward your information. I'll try to figure out where you're at in the process and make sure you get all the information you need.
Okay. All right,
Hold on one
thanks.
second. Let me write that down. Chris Blast Scott. Gotcha.
Hey, what's up, Ralph? Man, this is Anthony.
Hey, Anthony.
Hey, I friended you earlier on the Discord, man. How you doing there? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good to hear, man. Good to hear. Yeah. So I'm brand new to all this. I've been doing this. I've been paying a lot of attention to the videos, watching everything, following along for like probably 2-3 weeks. So I just got into the Elephant Challenge. This is my first like Zoom with you guys and everything. So I got the email from Alex today about an hour ago, 2 hours ago. I came in a little bit late on the Zoom. I was watching another Zoom. So I did sign the JV agreement, but the only link I've gotten so far is this one to join this one right now, the Zoom meeting. But I guess my question is, do we do this like every Monday, every Tuesday, every other day? Is this like training, ongoing training for?
I do this training every Monday, but it's for new people coming in. You're
Gotcha.
welcome to come back for certain, but you'll have your own meetings once you're placed on a team.
Ah, very well. Okay, gotcha.
Your acquisition manager will have a weekly meeting with you.
Fantastic. And is that daily or is it
No.
just weekly?
They're going to do a weekly meeting with you, but you
Okay.
can contact your acquisition manager daily as often as you need. They'll help you through the process.
Fantastic. Okay, cool. So we're waiting on that from Alex right now. That's who will assign me to an acquisition leader,
That will come from Lynn Bell.
Lynn Bell.
Yeah. And that's going to be once the spot opens up.
Okay,
So-
and I can get a hold of them on like on Discord, obviously.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
okay. Lynn is LIN or LEN?
LYNN.
LYN. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shows how much I can spell. Okay, cool, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, you bet. So your
I have
wife
another-
is Peggy Sue.
Yeah, Peggy Sue. Yeah, did she friend you too?
No, I see.
Not yet. Okay.
In in Discord, it says Anthony and Peggy Sue Freeman.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah, that's us. We're teaming up, man. Gonna knock out the park.
You're a Southern couple, huh?
Yeah, we're from Texas, sure enough.
You can tell with Peggy Sue, it's got to be a Southern.
Right. Oh, I got lucky on that one.
Right.
Got real lucky. Yeah, so yeah, man, we're excited. We're jumping right in. She's not able to spend as much time as I will be able to on it. But we're gonna work it out together and see what we can manage to, time wise, get
Yeah,
together.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We have another couple that works with us, the Jays, and they work together. Awesome team. So
Sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm excited, man. I've been like blowing and going on this stuff like crazy ever since I met Pace. Yeah, so I'm excited about this.
Hey, we're happy to have you on board.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Cool.
Nice to talk to everybody. We hope you all have a great evening, afternoon, morning, whatever you're at.
Yeah. We got one more thing too. One more thing, everybody, go to your email and type in property finder. And you can see that link that I'm talking about that you may already have it, because I couldn't find it for a long time because I never put in property finder. I was putting like fat juicy. So type property finder in your link to see if you have your ID.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, I probably don't have one yet anyway, so.
And that email, I think, is coming from Alex Williams, right, Chris?
So Ralph, we don't know how long the waiting list is. We're just kind of standing by a little bit.
Well, Yolanda, I'm not sure exactly when you came in, but basically we're going to be putting in another batch of property finders at the end of this week.
Okay,
And then every week we're going to be putting in a fresh batch of property finders.
gotcha.
So the ones that came in the earliest, which was like 2 weeks ago, they'll be placed this week.
Ah, okay,
And then the following week will be a new batch.
got you. Well, thank you so much. I'm eager to get started.
Oh, you bet, Yolanda.
Yeah.
So I have to get going. I have another meeting coming up, but thank you all and we'll see you all later.
Thank
We'll
you,
be
Ralph.
posting the replay. You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.